Hey guys, Vali here and welcome back to 0AD. And right now I am casting a 1 versus 1 match between me playing as the Gauls and Feldfeld playing as the Seleucids. So I will try to explain my thought process through this game, also kind of give out some tips, analyze what I did wrong, and explain why I did it wrong. Yeah, hopefully it will be interesting. So we are both going for the same opening. We will both try to play for some cavalry here. And yeah, something new with this release is that berries actually regenerate 1 food every 5 seconds if I'm correctly. So if you want to optimize it, you would want to spread out all of your gatherers. So have 1 unit on each of the berry bushes to just simply let them regenerate food as much as possible. So if you pay attention here, yeah, we quickly saw it go from 154 to 155, the food on the berry bush. It won't go past the maximum amount of food. So there's no point in just simply ignoring berry bushes. It's only for berry bushes and fish here. This food regeneration. As you can see, I actually didn't know about this. Feldfeld told me about it later. Yeah, this here I've got them spread out is because I didn't want them bumping into each other too much and to reduce, walk time. Increase efficiency like that. But yeah, optimally you have 1 on each, and it lets you get about 80 to 90 extra food if you just have 4 gathering with the berry gathering upgrade here. So you can see, getting a farmstead built nearby the hunt. And yeah, we are both doing the same thing, but I make a mistake here. It's not like the biggest thing in the world, but optimally I would have built the farmstead right next to the giraffes here. Because the giraffes will give me way more food than the gazelles. So it makes sense to build the farmstead closer to the giraffes. And just simply either ignore the gazelles for now or just build another farmstead near them or just, take them without, with a bit less efficiency here. Yeah, I've got my 2 cavalry trained up. What I really want to do is just simply scout him out. And see what he's planning to do, right? Whether he plans to go for some cavalry, if he will be playing passively. Yeah, I see that he'll be playing with some cavalry as well. Yeah, look at me, I will just simply be having to micro the cavalry a bit more to get efficient gathering, or the gathering won't be very efficient, yeah, like this. That's just such a waste, it's just simply on efficiency here, what I have done with this farmstead. So yeah, that's just a big misplay here. So I either have to micro my units always to, have efficiency, or I'll just simply, have some really long walk times, which is bad. Another thing here is, and generally I would consider Feldfeld not going for the scouting quite bad, but he does move out pretty quickly. And the other thing is why it isn't a mistake for him here. His woodline is in the back and the hunt was in the front. So he couldn't have been, really cut out by some cavalry just showing up at his woodline because, well, A, it's very unlikely, and B, if they do show up, he will be able to just simply cut off their retreat. And it would still be, trading cavalry for some, just economy units tends to be worth it, yeah, here. Now we trade 2 for 2, so it ends up being even. Just barely miss the kill, yeah? Just barely miss it. And yeah, he has a bit more cavalry trained up already. And if you look at this, he still has these berries going, yeah, he has 50 more food on the last berry bush. So he is bringing in way more food like that. It doesn't seem like much. And in the late game, it would certainly not be worth the effort at all if you were to take berries. But in the early game, this extra food is super important, it's super good. And yeah, we saw him do 10 villagers as well. And that is quite interesting because he still has really good cavalry numbers. But it does put him at some slight risk of getting overwhelmed had I, gone for really heavy cavalry production. But I am trying to kind of also do some more economy, yeah, cavalry and economy, so I end up being unable to overwhelm him here. That's not great, but yeah, get some nice skills. A spearman, a villager. Yeah, this is... And I think I made a pretty big mistake too. I'm pretty sure I tried to fight here. Or what exactly happened? Yeah, that was... I guess I tried to fight, right? And then I tried to run away and I just ended up losing far more units than I should have. Only one lost. Well, that could have gone worse. It could have gone worse and even trade in the end, so it's perfectly fine. But I am doing a lot of military and I'm being, in a way, overly safe here. It's like, look at the amount of military I have, 23. And he has... these guys here, yeah? He has 13 plus 1. Yeah, like, I have done a bit too much military, and if we compare populations... Well, I am not that far behind, but... I will end up falling behind, I'm pretty sure here. It's like, yeah, I did quickly watch over the replay after the game was played too, and I recall being quite surprised at what had gone on here. And yeah, this fight, I didn't realize he had the infantry there at the front. I didn't realize that. So that actually just... I never shot the infantry, I don't know how. But yeah, they certainly helped in that fight. And it went quite badly for me. If we were to just look at resources gathered right now, I am somehow very slightly ahead. But that is actually because the Gauls are bad for the early game. The Gauls are much better for the early game here because my buildings have less build time. So my units now build for, what, like a third as long, half as long. And they can go back to work and keep gathering resources. And that is quite important. That is very good. Yeah, this is the interesting part now. I thought I had actually developed a much better economy than him. And then I was happy to play defensively. Which was obviously, you know, incorrect here as we look back on the game. And yeah, I'm going for so much more military than I end up being able to use. I'm still adding in more cavalry. Which, I mean, my cavalry numbers sure are greater than his. But I don't think I use them very well if I remember correctly, right? Like, he has all this infantry. He has still the cavalry around too. Basically, he has enough units to one, defend the wood line, and if I try to raid his food, he will simply garrison the cavalry. And I will be unable to spend much time, you know, harassing the food income. And yeah, he has some more berries coming in too. So yeah, that's another great reason to do some cavalry units early on too. Like, you can try to raid the enemy, you can try to gather food, like neutral food from around the map. And if your opponent plays aggressive with, you know, like some raiding approach, something like that, you just simply keep the cavalry near the civic center. If the opponent attacks your wood line, you send them to support the wood line. If the opponent tries to raid your food, you sit them in the civic center. And why you want to do that is because soldiers add the extra arrows that the civic center will fire. Garrisoning villagers adds nothing. They won't be firing extra arrows. And it does make a huge difference here. It really does. So I can't really raid his food, I can't attack his woodline. And my cavalry, well, they can't find much value, just this one house here. If I try to run around the back, I'm scared about, you know, just simply being surrounded. Like, the cavalry jump out one side, infantry other side, and it's a pickle. So yeah, I've invested so much into cavalry, and I can't find much value. I was also... I think at one point I really wanted to go for heavy cavalry play. And then, a bit later, I changed my mind. What I didn't do is I didn't stop the autopilot of setting up, you know, farm economy for cavalry. And then I will talk about that a bit more in depth. And you can see also Feldfeld is adding in more cavalry numbers to just try and, I guess, match me playing cavalry because he knows he has developed better economy now. Like, I realized that too now at this point. So early on I thought, you know, it was great for me, I had better eco. And you just kinda start to realize, like, looking at the map, looking at the unit counts, buildings, it's not that great, yeah, it's not that great. And yeah, like, what he wants to do, he will have a better late game. And like, the early game where I have my main advantage is now kind of starting to end. So his kind of thought process, I suppose, is to just simply match what I am doing, but with a bad economy. That's, you know, like, if you believe in your skills, that is a very correct approach. That is a very, very correct approach, and he has no reason not to, you know, like, to not believe in his skills. Try to raid the farm economy. Run around the back, hit this wood line, and yeah, he also hid the amount of cavalry he has. Because he is producing more, but he hasn't shown me he's producing more, right? Like, so I assume he had like something about 7 or 8. In reality, he will soon have 18 cavalrymen. So I hit the food and... oh boy. Don't like what I'm seeing here, you know? Don't like what I'm seeing here. Try to escape. Yeah, what he... didn't really block me off too well. Yeah, like, I just sacrificed 3 cavalry. Could have even, maybe optimally, sacrificed even less, but oh well. Whatever. Yeah, population-wise still, we are very even because I have changed my mind about doing all this cavalry. Yeah, he still kept on producing some more, and I was able to at least minorly cause some idle time with my units, yeah, and I'm still taking out this hunt. So they are also adding some economy for me. They are at least giving me something. What would be interesting is, I would like to see how our economies compare at this point in time, resource-wise. I don't, like, I still have more. I don't know why really, I can't explain it, but yeah, I still have more at this point in time. Yeah, Feldfeld is up to phase 2. This is a style I don't really tend to do here, what he will do now. Also on stone, okay, that's interesting. But yeah, like, he kind of got decided to play really... gets more into phase 2. Pick up the upgrades, do some like hefty attacks in phase 2 here. Or, the alternative is, like, it gives you that option. The alternative is, you try and pick up like economy upgrades, prioritize economy like that. With this. Which in like, for me, I prefer to just boom up a lot more in phase 1. At least now, yeah, like, now that I've had a bit more time on this release. I prefer just boom. Get plenty of units on the mines. Also notice I'm spreading out like all around my base, like my farm economy is so safe. I have the cavalry now sitting around, you know, near the middle of my base. Wherever he goes, they will be ready to support my infantry. So he can't do much raiding, like his cavalry investment at the moment is, well, finding the same wall my cavalry investment got found, yeah? Like you have the cavalry, but you can't really do damage with them, you know, that's the problem. You can't do much with them. Yeah, like... how stable. Like, he has done nothing with the phase 2 right now. Hasn't really got much from it, and yeah, that also gives me a really nice economy lead. Yeah, this fight... and I had the advantage. And yeah, looking at the game right now, I sure have a pretty good lead now, population-wise. So his early phase 2 wasn't great for him, but also, again, as I said, I kind of autopiloted on cavalry play farming. And I decided not to do cavalry play. So what I should have done, either I take away 10 farmers and stay on 8 farms for now. Which is enough, you know, to really nicely boom, develop economy for the early game. Enough, and like when you reach phase 3 you will have enough food surplus to put down your buildings. Click up to phase 3, you know, no problem. Also, you know, pick up the economy upgrades, start researching military upgrades, all that good stuff. Or what I should have done alternatively is I should have stayed in phase 1 for even longer, you know, another barrack here, reach this wood line. And I should have done a huge boom, like a huge phase 1 boom then with 10 farmers. I mean 10 fields of farmers. So I end up, but I didn't do either one of them, so I end up floating huge amounts of food, and this is really not good. I put down a market, but I somehow forgot to use the market, yeah, like as a spoiler, I suppose. And yeah, like him going for that phase 2 so early, does hurt quite a bit, but he's playing now for some military upgrades. I mean, I think he would agree that he went to phase 2 a bit too early despite everything. Because like he didn't get any upgrades as he reached phase 2, like the blacksmith upgrades he's getting so much later. Just gave me such a nice economic position. Yeah, he's floating a fair bit of food too, but like he wants to do cavalry, so he has set up the farm economy for it, and that food will disappear as he starts doing more and more cavalry. Getting the upgrades, and yeah, big mistake from me here is like, I didn't like scout that, I didn't check that. And yeah, still, as you reach phase 2, like you should still put down like, a tower in your most vulnerable position. Positions. Like a tower here, and a tower here, and I'm perfectly fine from everything. Perfectly defended. Like that is like, now if you see me playing, like you will see me just... Like, I like, put down that, just safety tower. Make sure everything's okay. As you can see, like, population-wise, I am ahead. And also, notice this. I have clicked up to phase 3 as well, I'm about to reach phase 3. But this food issue, like, look at the market prices. I have done nothing with the market. I also researched the mining upgrades right away because so much spare food. What do I do with it? What I should have done, barter away the wood. And don't be a clone, don't research the melee upgrades. Because it is that ranged upgrades are far superior to melee upgrades. That's just how it is. Especially the ranged armor upgrade, the pierce armor upgrade. Because let's look at the stats if we can find a spearman somewhere, melee unit. Which they are all stuck in the very back as they are slow. So we have pikemen, yeah, and some spearmen probably somewhere too. Okay, pikemen will do just as well. Look at this. The melee units of his actually do more pierce damage than hack damage. And even with all of that, pikemen do just almost no damage in general. Hack armor gives me nothing here. It's the most useless upgrade I could have gone. If I had instead gone the pierce armor upgrades, it would have been way better for me, significantly better for me. I'm putting down a barrack, I'm setting up, for the late game here. And yeah, like I tried to also place a tower, but couldn't in time. What would have been the correct play for me? Let's just play it forward, come on. So again, do not panic this much, eh? So these guys, I have them. Oh yeah, I'm out of wood. Market? I built a market, should kind of use it. Would be a good idea. But yeah, these guys, they put down a tower. I garrison this barrack. I garrison maybe this barrack too, but they should have been building a tower here. Just get me a tower. Instead, I just fully engage. I don't have the appropriate upgrades. I'm getting level 2 of the same upgrades again, which is just horrible. Melee units, the citizen melee units are horrible for doing damage. Like only swordsmen. If you have swordsmen, then it's worth getting the melee attack upgrades, otherwise just leave them for the very end. As I said about the hack upgrades, that's already self-explanatory why they are not useful, because even his units that do deal hack damage, it is the minority, like they still do more pierce damage than hack. Yeah, at this point I am, 25 population behind. Not actually completely dead, I suppose. Which I thought it was worse than it actually was here. But yeah, had I actually appropriately just not panicked, not taken the fight, put down a tower here. Then I do again, like, just take a fight where I want to take a fight. Put down a tower, like near this area, near the civic center, put down another tower somewhere over here. I had a woodline in the back. I had some trees in the back still. Don't panic, take that fight, and I would be fine even with all my, floating food. I was just floating so much, and to be fair, it was for both of us our, first kind of really high level game, we played more. This was the very first one we played together, 1 versus 1 against each other. So, I have an excuse. And he has an excuse for also floating all this resource here, Oh, but he would do like another bigger queue of units, it would just disappear, yeah, queue up some pikemen. With batch training, this amount of resources can disappear very quickly. I like his idle time here on these stables, on these barracks. I mean, I did call like GG here, and the resign is not instant. But yeah, there's a lot of mistakes I made, which obviously like are not hard to fix. They're very simple mistakes. You look at the replay. Hopefully, again, the tips I gave out. What I talked about was helpful, even though I don't really remember what I talked about, yeah. So that's not the best thing, but yeah. And on these kinds of attacks, if you can't tell whether you will win or lose the fight, I better just play it safe, right? Like, Iris on these two barracks, yeah. Tower, like on each side. Try to get him to be fighting under the range of the civic center. That's the biggest thing. If I can get that, that's amazing. But yeah, I just kind of panicked. I also thought I had the advantage, and well, I didn't have the advantage as I didn't have the important upgrades that I should have had. So it is what it is, yeah, it is what it is. He played very nicely. Especially with that early kind of lead he gave himself in the early game. Where he greeded just the right amount to not be susceptible to my cavalry. But also, like, still have the economy advantage despite having a civilization that has worse earlier economy. So it was very nicely played by him too, that early part. No, we want this game. There we go. So what do we have? Structures. I mean, I built more houses because my houses give half as much population space. Yeah, exactly twice as many houses. Now you can see this fight, it just went horribly wrong for me. You can check the charts here as well, population chart. So I developed like the economy lead kind of as we reached the mid-game point here. I developed the economy lead. For the early game, yeah, he got a really nice lead here. He developed very, very nicely. It's a bit of a risk, but calculated risk, yeah? Like if we look at the kills and so on, and see it's very even. Very, very even. Like in the end, resource count wise, I somehow still had more. Food, we were just even on food count, yeah? Like almost dead even almost. Just 15 difference, that's tiny. But yeah, more stone, more metal. So yeah, I kind of like, I got ahead as the game went on, but I wasted it also, yeah, because as the game went on, my economy balance was way off, and I didn't fix it even with the market. So that's a big mistake, but anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't be afraid to leave a like, leave a comment, and also subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you all later. Peace.